What's going on, everybody? It's How To Tuesday, and recently I put on Instagram, on Tom_Rowland Instagram, also on Saltwater Experience Instagram, and Tom Rowland Podcast Instagram. We got too many Instagrams. We should just consolidate it into one. But some people follow all three. Some people follow one of those. Anyway, I put on there that I was going to be doing some of these How To Tuesdays, and people offered up some suggestions, and we're going to go over one of those today. That's what we're going to talk about, and that is Perfecting the Backcast by James Lynch. Okay, that's what James wants to understand, how you can perfect the backcast. Okay, right now, obviously, we're talking about fly fishing, or maybe not obviously. I wouldn't have had to clarify that if it was obvious. But there is a backcast in spin fishing. There's a backcast in fly fishing. It's more important. I don't know. They're probably equally as important. Both are used to load the rod, and by loading the rod, it's like pulling back an arrow properly in a bow and arrow, and you're going to be able to launch that line out further. For today's conversation, we're going to talk about fly fishing. And fly fishing, the forward cast is what you see. It's what you see in the pictures. That's what you see in the videos. That is what delivers the fly to the fish ultimately, and the forward cast gets a lot of attention. You are looking at it. You see the loop shape as it's going out, so you can consistently work on that. And if you're fly fishing properly, you're not looking at your back cast. Ever. Okay? So this is step one in perfecting the backcast. And let me just say, I don't know that you're ever going to perfect the backcast. I don't know that you're ever going to perfect the golf swing. I don't know that you're ever going to perfect your bow shooting. I don't know that you're ever going to perfect your weightlifting clean and jerk technique. There are things that you can constantly and consistently get better over your entire life. The backcast is definitely one of these things. You can change your style, you can change your rod, you can change a lot of things that will change ultimately how that line is going backwards. But what happens with fly fishing is that you have to get the line to load the rod somehow. So the rod is straight with no bend, and it needs to bend like a bow and arrow, so that you can push it forward and it can propel the line forward. If you get a good, high-quality backcast, it is going to go straight behind you, and it is going to pull the rod down and properly load that rod so that when you come forward, you can utilize a double haul and you can propel that line forward. When people are beginning fly casting, the most common mistake is to not wait long enough on the back cast. A lot of people are used to spin fishing or fishing with conventional tackle, and you're only using about this much line off the rod tip. So you come back and come forward, and the rod is properly loaded with the weight of the lure. You push it forward, and the weight of that lure goes out and carries the light line behind it. Fly fishing is exactly the same and exactly opposite. It is exactly the same in that you need the weight to carry the line out, but you get there completely differently. You have to have a length of line out behind you that has a physical weight that's enough to load the rod. You have to get that rod to bend over. And if you don't have enough line out, you won't get much of a bend in that rod. If you have too much line out, you'll get too much of a bend in the rod, and it'll get out of control, and you don't throw it very well. It just all lands in a heap in front of you. Probably seen that. I know that I have. So what you have to do is to be able to bring back the back cast and make a hard stop, and when you do make a hard stop, it bends the rod over and throws the line behind you. And then if you wait, and good fly fishermen will get this to where they can actually feel it, they can feel that rod loading up, and they can feel when that line is absolutely straight behind them, and they don't have to look at the back cast. When you're first beginning, you might need to look at the back cast, and you know that it's all the way back there, and you can come forward Otherwise, you will hear a loud pop like a bullwhip. You don't want to hear a loud pop like a bullwhip. If you hear a bullwhip sound, you're not waiting long enough for the line to properly extend behind you, and it still has a curved shape in it, and when you come forward, it cracks like a bullwhip. It puts a knot in your line, and it probably sometimes snaps the fly off. Okay? Not good under any circumstances. So perfecting the backcast starts with making sure that you're making a hard enough stop so the line is propelling behind you and you're waiting long enough for that line to get back there. Now, as you get more advanced, you're going that you're not thinking about it anymore. It's always going to get back there. So now you're trying to get the backcast to go back there faster and under more with more speed so that you can do better things to it. With more speed, you can actually shoot line on the backcast. You can let a little line out and more line will shoot out behind you, meaning that you can come forward and make a longer cast forward without a lot of false casts. False casts are when you're keeping the line in the air, mostly unnecessarily because the fish don't live in the air, they live in the water. So the more time the line is in the air, the fewer fish you're going to catch, right? Great fishermen don't wave it around like a river runs through it, okay? That's a movie. That's not what it looks like. A great fisherman is going to pick it up and put it down, okay? They're going to do as little as possible. A great caster is someone who is capable of doing all of that, but knows that, and you can have a difference between a great fisherman and a great caster. I've had both on my boat, and I'd prefer to have the great fisherman. The great caster can put it anywhere he wants to if he puts it in the water. Sometimes they just sit there and show you what a great loop they have. That's not impressive to a fishing guide. Who cares? Can you get it in front of the fish where it needs to be, when it needs to be there? That's a great fisherman. If the loop doesn't look beautiful on the way out, whatever, it gets there. I'd rather fish with somebody who can get the fly there every single time than someone who looks perfect doing it and it takes 50 false casts to get it out there. Now, there are the rare exceptions where you have both. You have great casters who are also great fishermen, and that's what we all want to be. We want to be that guy. We want to be the guy who has this perfect backcast and can put it right where it needs to be because he has fished enough that he understands where it needs to be and can visualize a target and he can put it where he's visualizing. Okay, that all starts with the backcast. If you do not have a good backcast, you're probably not going to have a really great forward cast. So perfecting the backcast is a manner of stopping really hard, using the haul, and getting the line to extend out behind you quickly with a lot of great speed and trajectory, that it's kind of angling up and then you're able to push it forward. Now here's a couple of tricks. If you're concerned about your backcast, there is a good likelihood that you are continually looking at your backcast. How do I make my backcast better? Was that a good backcast? Okay, that's fine when you're practicing. You need to do that, I guess. In today's world, we have this thing. You can set your phone up and you can video you in slow motion if you want to with the thing that we all have in our pocket. It has incredible slow motion capabilities. So put this down on the ground and video yourself casting instead of looking at your backcast, because looking at your backcast is a horrible habit. It's the worst habit for being a good fisherman. If you're trying to catch a fish, and when I'm talking about catch a fish, I'm talking mostly about bonefish, permit, tarpon, redfish, snook, barracudas, something in salt water that's moving. And also trout fishing, same thing. You're seeing the fish in the water. Every time you turn around and look at this, you now have to turn back around and find the fish. It's really, 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 really hard to do for the best anglers. For somebody that is looking at their backcast, that is the worst habit. You want to get in the habit of only looking at the fish, and you want to be able to make that cast without ever taking your eye off the fish. So your phone in your pocket is the solution to this. Instead of practicing where you're looking and wondering, is that a good cast? Is that a good cast? Don't do that anymore. Look only at the target, set your phone up, and video your backcast. Okay? Video it. Go back and look at it. But get in the habit of never taking your eye off the target. And also never letting go of the line. Another horrible habit that comes from these photos that I see in the fly fishing magazines is that people are either looking back behind them like this, or they're shooting the line to the target and they have completely dropped the line out of their left hand and they're just standing there shooting line. Well, that's a terrible habit. This is a tool. Your left hand is a tool. You're going to shoot line to the target and you're going to slow it down with your left hand, which is going to allow the loop to unroll better. And what if you're going to overshoot the fish or the fish turns back to you? If you let the line go and you're shooting line like this, you have no way of stopping that line. It's a terrible habit. So don't look at the backcast. Don't drop the line with your left hand. Always keep the line in your left hand. Shoot through an OK sign. Okay? The line will shoot right through the OK sign. When you need to stop the line, you're right there. If it goes down and hits the water in the perfect spot, oftentimes your guide's going to say, great, strip it. Well, if your hand is over here and you go to strip the line, you're going to either really pull it really far or you're not going to grab the line at the right time. I've seen it all. So what you want to do is be able to put that line down on the water, slowly temper out the speed so that the line's going to land perfectly. One strip and you've moved the fly. That's a good habit. Looking at the backcast, dropping the line, those are bad habits. So I don't know how far we got into perfecting the backcast, but I think today we might have improved the backcast simply by using your phone in practice to video so you can see what your line looks like as opposed to looking at it, and then also taking your backcast and moving it out into a beautiful forward cast and keeping it in your left hand. Those two tips will take you a lot further than any kind of talk I could do on how to stop the rod better so that you're making a better backcast. The backcast is the most important. Absolutely. You're not going to get a good forward cast without a good backcast. So think about the backcast, but don't look at the backcast. Okay? Certainly not when you're fishing, but it's just a bad habit that you don't want to get into. Use your phone, and hopefully that will help. If it doesn't, let me know. Let me know what you think about this. 305-930-7346. That's how you can let me know if you think this is all no good information or you think it's really good information. That's fantastic. Or you have other questions. That's how you get me. 305-930-7346. And that's How To Tuesday for this week. We'll talk to you next week. See ya.